The Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup is a Grade 1. It's run on the Saturday card at Keeneland. It's the eighth race. It's run at a mile and an eighth on the turf for 3-year-old fillies, and this is usually a pretty good prep for the Breeders' Cup, for the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. We take a look at this field, and She Feels Pretty certainly would be the one that sticks out more than any. She's been for Cherie DeVoe. She had a really nice third in the Juvenile Fillies Turf last year, and has followed it up with some pretty good efforts. We've got Buku, who was a horse I really liked last year as a 2-year-old, and has been pretty good for Phil Bauer. Never want to underestimate Rigney Racing at Keeneland for sure. You've got Pounce, and oversubscribed for Chad Brown, and so this is what I consider to be a pretty good Grade 1 field. Now, we'll take a look at it, and the thing about this race, more than anything, is the distance really makes a difference for quite a few here. Pin-Up Betty, in particular, from Mike Maker, this is one that I think her form has been pretty good, although she didn't fare terribly well in the last race, but cutting back to a mile and an eighth is really should make a lot of difference. I think it's an ideal distance. It's one that she's been very effective at. I do worry whether or not she can carry all of these all the way. But at 20-1, she's a pretty interesting horse, and I can kind of go either way with. I just don't think she's going to be able to get away with terribly soft fractions, given Caitlin Her Grace, Caitlin Her Greatness, Pounce, and Waves of Mischief. They should be putting the pressure on pretty good. You probably might even get a little bit from She Feels Pretty as well. But Pin-Up Betty is, again, one I can go either way with, and I wouldn't talk you out of putting her in the mix, maybe underneath in the exotics. But I'm not. I think it's going to be kind of a tall order to take this one out. Looking at the field here, Waves of Mischief to me is one that seems to be on the rise. I've really liked what I've seen the last two races, and you consider that her last at Kentucky Downs was at a mile and 5/16. The cutback in distance should make a lot of sense here. Certainly a flatter track. And I think at 12-1, you're getting some really nice value here. And because everything's a good fit and this horse has upside, I like Waves of Mischief in here. Pounce, I just haven't been that keen on this horse lately. I think, especially the ones that come from Gulfstream, they're a little suspect moving to other tracks. And I just don't think this one sets up terribly well. She seems to be more comfortable at a mile or 7 furlongs, 6 furlongs, and I think this might be a little too far, so I'm going to let Pounce go. Now, She Feels Pretty. Certainly, from the back class, Cherie DeVoe, everything looks ideal for a good run here. But here's the thing. She just doesn't look like longer distances than a mile are really what she wants. Her last couple, in particular, at longer distances than a mile, she was notable in the stretch. Seemed like everything was her way. She was ready to go and then just could not sustain the lead and backed up. And I just think that's telling that she doesn't want more than a mile. So She Feels Pretty certainly has the talent and the back class to stick around in this race. But I would say underneath is probably more likely, and consequently, I think we've got to look and find other horses with value, and that's kind of where I went with Waves of Mischief. But She Feels Pretty, certainly have to use in the exotics, exacta, trifecta, but I'm not picking her on top. We've got a couple of European imports here, Kandala and Soprano. And to be honest, either one of them was difficult to separate one or the other. I was trying to pare this field down to horses that we really want to use. And really, I settled on Kandala more for the distance. I think a mile and an eighth is probably more up her alley. They both have been pretty solid, Soprano in particular. I liked last effort. They've been running against some really good horses. The one for Ralph Beckett, or not Ralph Beckett, but in the Arc de Triomphe yesterday, There were a couple of them that the names escape me right now. I apologize again, senior moment. But the Soprano was right there with them. So I think this horse definitely has some talent, is a good fit here. I just wonder if this is maybe a little too long. And that's why I'll give the edge to Kandala. I think she has been running at longer distances, and a mile and an eighth cutting back might make more sense for her. But using either one of them certainly is, I could see using both for sure. But if I had to pick one that I thought maybe would have a better impact on this race, Kandala would be the one. Grayosh for Chad Brown. What do you say? You've got a couple of Chad Browns here with oversubscribed. Which one do you want? This is a horse who certainly is improving. I had a nice allowance win last time. And, with another move forward off the bench, certainly could factor in this race. And the speed figure needs to get better. I think it's possible. And at 8-1, you are getting a good price. Waves of Mischief, I think, is just a little further along right now. But it was really more about the class than anything else for me. But Grayosh is certainly one to consider in here. Now, Buku is one that likes Keeneland, and that's certainly a big plus as always. And for Phil Bauer, this is a meet. He's a hard boot Kentucky guy. This is one he wants to win. Buku, I like this horse. I really liked her at 2. I think she's her last race. The pace just didn't set up for her terribly well. And consequently, I thought she ran her race, but she just wasn't going to get to the front runners. I don't know how much pace there will be in this race, but coming back to a track that she likes, I think should set her up for a really good effort. And honestly, I'm really pretty surprised to see her at 15-1. And at that price, we have to use all day. If you compare the two closers, oversubscribed is certainly a horse that, for Chad Brown, I think has some talent. But at 6-1, I think Buku is a much better bet at 15. Oversubscribed looks to me like one that still needs a little bit of work, but is certainly I'm going to use on the bottom of the try without a doubt. But I just kind of like Buku as a better value option, and I think because the distance is so important in this race, I think it sets up for looking at horses with value and to beat the chalk. And so that's what we're going to try to do here. So our wagering strategy, we're going with Waves of Mischief with a win bet at 12-1. I think that's an outstanding value. You want to throw one on Buku? I wouldn't blame you at all. That either one of them, whichever. I don't know that that 15-1 is going to stay there, but I think with She Feels Pretty and a couple of euros in here, you're certainly going to get a price. For the exacta, we're going to do a 4-7 cold exacta. And if that one comes in, we get odds anywhere near what the morning line is, and it comes in, we're Tube City. We'll box the two of those as well. And then we'll do a key box with 4 on top with 7, 9, and 10. So we got to potentially get paid 3 ways. And we throw in Grayosh and Kandala as ones that perhaps could upset the apple cart. For the trifecta, I'm going to keep it pretty conventional, 4-7, 4-7 with 3, 5, 6, 9, and 10, and we'll add in oversubscribed as one that I think perhaps could factor, and we'll throw the 5 in as well. Although, I just think the distance is a little too far for the 5, but has enough back class that can probably stick in the mix. I just wonder a little bit about getting on top. So I think this is going to be a really fun race. It looks like a really excellent betting opportunity. I think you have to bet against She Feels Pretty in this spot, given her what seemingly are distance limitations. So I hope our analysis helps you with your own wagering strategy. Wish you the best of luck as always. We will have the Sycamore for Friday's card at Keeneland. We'll be posting that later. And the Maryland Million, we're going to post quite a bit from there. This is one of those weekends. It's, getting up to the Breeders' Cup. Some of the major tracks, there's a bit of a lull, so let's take advantage of it and look for some really nice betting opportunities at a circuit that usually does offer them, and it's a fun day. Jim McKay was one of my all-time favorite people in broadcasting. He's the one who created the Maryland Million, so getting a little sentimental here, and we'll go for it. But I think it offers some nice opportunities. So that's it from here. I'll talk to you soon, and until then, be well.